I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, so if everyone could please come on in, find your seats. You guys are all going to be sitting according to your assigned groups, which is all three of you. Log on to the computers, but don't do anything yet. And once you're all settled, I would like you to turn your attention to the screen over here. So we have a paragraph. Can everyone see that okay? Okay. Courtney, could you read this aloud for me?
Yes, I can. In 1606, Richard Clifton was a rector suspected by the Church of England of not preaching about God the way he was told to. His congregation began to meet in the home of William Brewster. History remembers them as the Scrooby congregation. Eventually, the Church of England found out about Clifton's beliefs and excommunicated him. Rather than give up being a rector, he and Thomas Helwys, a fellow separatist, made arrangements in the following year to move his church to Holland to avoid persecution by the crown.
Okay, very good, thank you. So, if I were to ask you, what is the topic of this paragraph? What might you say it is? And just raise your hands or sing out if you have an idea. Courtney.
Richard Clifton?
Richard Clifton, good. And Patrick, I saw you putting your hand up.
Oh, the Scrooby congregation.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Just going to shorten that to Scrooby. Anyone else?
I was going to say that as well.
Okay. So another idea it might be about is it might be about separatists, which does tie into the Scrooby congregation. Yeah, so let's call that the complete list. Okay, so what you guys just did was you looked at a paragraph, a presentation of information, and you picked out the things that you thought were important about that paragraph, the things that were key to its understanding. Now, for today, our essential question is, how do we know what we need in order to answer a question? And keywords are the start of that process. So, if I were to show you this again, what questions might you have about this? Okay, I'm just looking for, again, if you have an idea, sing out, but it's any questions that you might have about the information presented in this paragraph. Yes, Patrick?
What was he preaching?
What was he preaching? Let's specify. Courtney.
Did anyone follow them? Like, were they just a group of guys on their own, or did they have any people who believed in what they were doing?
All right. That's a very good question.
I'll pose a third grade question. What's a separatist?
What is a separatist? That is a good question. Okay. That's good. So, you can see here, just from looking at keywords that you guys came up with and the questions that you came up with, that there are connections. For example, Richard Clifton, pretty important to know who he was if you were going to ask what was he preaching. Did anyone follow them? So who's them? Scrooby. It ties right into the Scrooby congregation. Separatists? What is a separatist? So asking questions about a topic that you don't already know the answer to is the heart of research. And I know that a couple of weeks ago we started talking about databases, how we use databases, how we put basically the mechanical idea of putting search terms in order to find information. This is what comes before, especially when you're doing a research project like I know that you guys are working on the Mayflower Compact. It's important to know, to make sure that your question is focused on certain key terms when you're in those databases, that you don't, when you're putting in information, that you don't get stuff unrelated to what you're looking for. The way to do that is to figure out the right question to ask. The two basic, well, there are three, actually, but the two problems that you might run into are broad questions and narrow questions. And yes, this might sound a little bit familiar. So, why would broad be a problem? Broad might be a problem because you're going to end up with more information than you can rely on and process, more than you can find in an amount of time in order to be able to finish your assignment and get a grade. That might be something broad like, what is separatism in England? That's a big topic. The other concern is, what if a question is too narrow? A yes or no question, for example, might be a too narrow question, and with that, you're not going to get enough information in order to complete your assignment. But broad and narrow questions do help. Broad questions, they're good for summarizing, and they're good for getting a bigger picture so that you can ask the right questions when you need to. Narrow questions, they're good for deciding what avenues of research to follow. For example, you might ask, does separatism have anything to do with, excuse me, does separatism have anything to do with the Mayflower Compact? That's a yes or no question, but that's going to help you decide, is that going to lead you where you need to go for this project? In short, you need to guide your research. And like we talked about just a moment ago, keywords are the best way to do it. So, keywords are not absolute, is the other thing to remember. They're a good start, but what you need to do is turn them into search terms. And what we learned about search terms before still applies here. They need to be specific and they need to be supportive. For example, let's say that I am learning about the Virginia Charter. In 1609. So, I might ask myself, who benefited from the Virginia Charter? My keywords, in order to answer that question, come straight from the example here. So we know Virginia Charter, 1609. But let's say I do some research. I find out that the Virginia Charter is actually the second charter. And benefit. Who benefited from the Charter of 1609? So I'm actually searching for my information. I'm going to combine those. Make them into search terms, like, for example, Second Virginia Charter. I might ask I might also find out colonists and landowners benefited. So I might ask Virginia Charter colonists. I might ask Virginia Charter 1609 landowners benefit. Now, in your groups, I'd like you to take a look at those sheets in front of you. And if you could, just think about the topics at hand and help each other and try to come up with a question about your topic. Basically, again, you don't want a narrow topic, or a narrow question, you want a broad question. And feel free to ask me anything if you need help. I'll be walking around in order to give you some assistance and yeah. You okay?
So we're writing our question, and then we
Yes.
have to pick the words in our question
That
that
means,
will lead us to the answer.
exactly, look for the words in your question or that are related to your question that might be meaningful. Stuff that might help you guide your research
And we're 8
process.
years old.
Yes.
Okay.
James, do you have a copy of your lesson plan?
I do.
I can look at, are you done or
Oh, yeah.
as you're going?
I've just been, yeah.
Yeah, don't give it to me if you're using it. You can give it to me afterwards.
Sure. Okay. Everyone just take another minute, which here will translate into another few moments. Okay, so let's talk about your worksheets here. If everyone could, well, would anyone care to volunteer for us to talk about your worksheet?
I will.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So, what was your topic?
The Brownists.
The Brownists. Okay, so what questions did you come up with about the Brownists?
Well, I want to know who they were, so I wrote, who were the Brownists?
Okay.
And what did they have to do with the Mayflower Compact?
Very good. So, with that in mind, what are some of the keywords that you came up with?
Brownists,
No, that's a good one.
Mayflower Compact,
Yep.
and then I also put America, because I was thinking about the Mayflower, if we're thinking about these words as relating back to what we're talking about in class, I figured they had something to do with America.
You know, that's a very good leap of faith there, and you are correct.
I did put a question mark next to it, because I didn't.
Anyone else?
I had William Bradford,
Excellent.
and so I said, who is William Bradford?
Okay.
And I said, what did he have to do with the Mayflower Compact?
Excellent question.
So I also have the Mayflower Compact and then William Bradford as my keyword.
Good choices.
And I added America.
America's
She's
good.
copying me.
Patrick?
So I had Massasoit,
Yep.
and so I put, as an 8-year-old, what is Massasoit?
Who or what? Very good, because that is an issue. If you don't know exactly what your topic is referring to, you might not know the right kind of question to ask.
Where or what does it come from?
Yep.
And so my keywords was Massasoit, place, Massachusetts, because they sound alike in people.
Excellent. So, thumbs up or thumbs down if you feel like you have a grasp of the question to keyword process. Okay, excellent. So, with your keywords, it's now time to start some actual research. Make sure you're logging into the library website. Load up the Gale database that we showed you the other day. Keep your questions and keywords close by. I'll be coming around the room in order to help out. And hang on to those sheets because you have to give them to your teacher when you're done. And that is it.
Right in?
Yes, that's it.
I
Oh, yeah.